Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. As you've seen from the title of the video, this is going to be a very different one. First, you have to check out this video that's going to set trail for what we're going to be talking about today.
When your identity is your ideology, congratulations, you've officially screwed yourself, because now it's not just an idea, now it's you. And when the idea gets challenged, you don't hear disagreement, you hear an attack. So what do? You build a bubble. A nice, soft, padded little bubble where everyone agrees with you, uses the same words, hates the same people, and claps at the exact right moments. And you will defend that bubble at all costs, even if it makes you sound incredibly stupid. Facts don't matter anymore. Logic's gone. Humor? Dead. Because admitting you're wrong would mean admitting you are wrong, and that's unacceptable. So you double down, louder, angrier, dumber. And that's how you end up defending nonsense like it's sacred scripture, not because it's true, but because without it, you'd have to actually develop a personality.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we call collective narcissism. And it is right that we talk about this because I feel like many people maybe are too scared to talk about this, but I like to challenge the status quo. You may be asking, what is collective narcissism? Well, according to the works of Dr. Agnieszka, her work will be linked in the description box. She says that it's a belief that one's group is exceptional and entitled to special recognition, combined with a persistent sense that others fail to sufficiently acknowledge or respect that greatness. In simpler terms, ladies and gentlemen, it means that we are special, them actually, and we are being denied the recognition we deserve. Perfectly exemplifies the video that we're from watching, right? You know, the guy said a very interesting thing, right? When we disagree with them, they start becoming hostile, right? Or they see you as the enemy. Well, as per the research, I found that this group has tendencies of depending heavily on external validation, monitor constantly for signs of disrespect, meaning that if you challenge them, then of course you are the bad guy. Interpret ambiguity as intentional harm, collapse disagreement into moral offense. As a result, debate ceases to be about ideas, it becomes about identity preservation.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
I think it's called Lightyear.
And like, and she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They putting it everywhere. My grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came and watched the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like y'all throwing me in the middle of I don't have an answer for.
Facts are no longer evaluated neutrally.
You've asserted that no one would ever see me as a woman, that nobody would ever see or could see a transgender person as a woman, and yet I have dozens of friends from diverse backgrounds. All of these people assure me, like, I'm a woman. They'll tell me, girl, like, there is no way you are a man. They see me as a woman.
Why?
So the question,
Okay.
how can you assert that nobody would ever see me as a woman when my material experience tells me you're wrong?
Okay. It's interesting that that's the part of my talk you chose to ask a question about, because that's not in my talk at all. I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. Now, you brought this up, so I have to tell you that you brought this up. You've put your identity on the table for conversation. And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. You know, if a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man, I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of. Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity and on the table for discussion. So how do you know that you're a woman?
Questions are interrupted as attacks.
It was first when I heard transgender persons describe their experience in their own words, and this was only about 2 years ago. Hearing somebody describe things, it was a woman from like England, describing her experience, her childhood, her teenage years. And it blew my mind to be listening to her, because it was just some podcast that I was listening to while I was like doing laundry. But it blew my mind to hear somebody so eloquently and precisely describe things that I had experiences that I had experienced.
What did they say?
Okay, so I am honestly hesitant. I know that you touched earlier about the difficulty that transgender women might have in describing their identity, but I want to state, I honestly don't feel that you would engage in this conversation in good faith.
Then why are you
And
here?
so-
Why did you stand up to talk to me if you don't want to have a conversation?
So at this stage, as the man in the video said, truth becomes secondary to group cohesion. Another thing you have to know is that these people don't just come out of nowhere. Something has to happen for that collective identity to come about, right? This is often intensified or spearheaded by influential leaders, cultural figures, or propaganda trains from the government or dominant voices within a group. So these actors reinforce narratives of moral exceptionalism, claims of historical or ongoing victimhood, a sense of entitlement to affirmation, loyalty as a moral obligation.
So first of all, listening to transgender people, and it was like, okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, like a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being like, it feels like they're talking about somebody else. It means feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys, even when you have a lot of friends. And I was active in like Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I had great masculine role models my whole life. And yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting. You're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
Criticism in this framework is reframed not as engagement but as persecution. Over time, followers internalize this framing and respond automatically rather than reflectively. This creates a psychological environment where dissent feels illegitimate before it is even examined. In this procession comes where this gets called a bubble, or in the modern world, we call it echo chambers through algorithmic amplification, because we're in the modern era where everything is on the internet and you can be where you want and you're shown things that you want, right? So in this digital age, social media and algorithmic systems functions as accelerants. Platforms curate personalized information environments that prioritize relevance, engagement, and emotional resonance. Over time, this creates echo chambers, spaces where individuals are disproportionately exposed to perspectives that mirror their own, like Twitter Spaces, Facebook Spaces, Reddit Spaces, even on Quora, YouTube, right? All that kind of stuff, man. So within these chambers, beliefs are repeated rather than tested. Group narratives are reinforced. Opposing viewpoints are filtered out or caricatured. Moral certainty is rewarded over intellectual humility. We can also factor in sectarianism. I talked about it in the video about where I talked about anti-intellectualism. So what emerges is not merely bias but insulation. People become less capable of distinguishing disagreement from hostility because they rarely encounter disagreement in good faith. Let me just run back that video from that guy, man. Let's just run it back one more time.
When your identity is your ideology, congratulations, you've officially screwed yourself, because now it's not just an idea, now it's you. And when the idea gets challenged, you don't hear disagreement, you hear an attack. So what do? You build a bubble. A nice, soft, padded little bubble where everyone agrees with you, uses the same words, hates the same people, and claps at the exact right moments. And you will defend that bubble at all costs, even if it makes you sound incredibly stupid.
And that said, of course, you may think that there's no solution to such kind of people, right? But we have to say that we love them. We accept them for who they are. They have chosen to walk down that path, but there's research that offers a solution, right? And it is right that we highlight them. I'm going to also put that research, or rather that piece, in the description box below. It says that, for one, we have to encourage open, respectful dialogue aimed at understanding rather than dominance, identifying and emphasizing shared values and common ground, promoting empathy without demanding ideological agreement, fostering real community beyond online identity spaces, teaching critical thinking and media literacy, especially to younger audiences. And on that side, ladies and gentlemen, a pluralistic society cannot function when every disagreement is treated as violence. Collective narcissism transforms conversations into moral warfare, not because people lack values, but because identity becomes fused with belief. When identity becomes untouchable, truth becomes negotiable. The future belongs not to those who speak the loudest, but to those capable of disagreement without dehumanization. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a video to hate on anybody in any way, shape, or form. We can live in a world where each and everyone has their opinions in matters of such, but when it comes now to shoving your beliefs into someone's throats, that is where the problem begins, because you do not want to hear the other person's way of thought, right? But if you feel that way, please go tell me in the comment what I have said that has triggered you in that manner. This is just something to enlighten you, for us to become more intellectual, appeasing people, to seek the answers, right? To question the beyond, ladies and gentlemen, and to not stick in this bubble, in this box, ladies and gentlemen. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Please do like, comment, subscribe if you have found this topic, this subject thought-provoking in any way, shape, or form. We are on a journey to hitting 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let us prove all the naysayers wrong. And with that said, peace.